My husband said, "Don't hug me in front of my parents." I froze and left without saying a word. Please, if you missed part 1 and part 2, check the comments for links to both stories. Kennedy's first birthday party wasn't supposed to be at my place. Preston and I had agreed on a neutral location. Keep it small, don't make it weird. But then Preston's apartment building had a pipe burst 2 days before, flooding his unit, and he called me at midnight crying, saying he had nowhere to host it. So here I was in my duplex in Mesa, hanging streamers with cartoon elephants on them, while Nancy helped me set up a dessert table. 11 months of shared custody had created a routine that worked because we made it work, because we barely spoke beyond logistics, because we both learned to swallow our pride for our daughter. The doorbell rang at 2 p.m. exactly. Preston was always exactly on time now, one of the many things that had changed about him since our divorce. He stood there holding Kennedy, who was wearing a pink dress I'd bought last week, and a diaper bag that looked like it weighed more than the baby. "Hi," Preston said, his voice careful. We were always careful with each other now, polite, distant, like diplomats from warring countries meeting to discuss treaties. "Hey, come in." I took the diaper bag, and Kennedy reached for me immediately. "Mama," it was one of her 3 words. Mama, Dada, and no, which she used liberally for everything from vegetables to bedtime. Preston's face did that thing it always did when Kennedy chose me. A flicker of pain he tried to hide, quickly replaced by something that looked almost like pride. "She missed you. She kept looking at your picture this morning and saying, 'Mama work, Mama work.'" I'd put framed photos of myself in Preston's apartment, and he'd done the same at mine. Dr. Martinez, our family mediator, had suggested it during our custody arrangements. Children need to see both parents as permanent, present figures in their lives, even when they're with the other parent. "How's the apartment situation?" I asked, carrying Kennedy to the living room where I'd set up her play area with the precision I brought to every electrical job, everything in its proper place, safely contained, functioning perfectly. "Insurance is covering everything. Should be fixed in 2 weeks. I'm staying at that extended stay near the hospital." He hesitated, watching me settle Kennedy onto her playmat. "Olivia, I know this wasn't the plan having it here, and I'm sorry for the inconvenience." "It's fine, Preston. She's my daughter too. Of course her birthday party can be here." I set Kennedy down, and she immediately crawled toward her favorite toy, a stuffed elephant I'd given her when she was 4 months old. She slept with it every night, according to Preston, one of the few details we still shared about our separate lives with her. The doorbell rang again. Colton arrived with his wife Paige and their twin boys, both carrying gifts wrapped in bright paper that Kennedy would enjoy destroying more than whatever was inside. Then came Nancy with her sister Maria, who helped me on my longer custody stretches when union jobs ran late. Finally, a few of Preston's study group from medical school arrived, people who'd stood by him even after my very public Facebook post had gone viral 18 months ago, exposing exactly what kind of man I'd married. No one from Preston's family came, naturally. His parents were still holed up in their Scottsdale McMansion, still hadn't met their granddaughter despite living 20 minutes away. They'd sent a card with a $50 check inside their idea of grandparental involvement. Preston had cried when he opened it, then quietly deposited the money into Kennedy's college fund without a word. The party started awkwardly, as these things always did. Everyone knew our story. Everyone knew what Preston had done to me at his medical school graduation party 8 months ago. Everyone knew why we were divorced, why I'd walked away from our 7-year marriage, why Kennedy now split her time between her parents' separate worlds. But Kennedy didn't know any of that. She just crawled between her parents, laughing at everything, smashing cake into her face with the focused determination of a master electrician attacking a complex wiring job, opening presents with chubby hands that couldn't quite manage the wrapping paper but tried anyway. I watched Preston help her, watched the way he smiled at our daughter, really smiled, not the performative smile he'd perfected for his parents' friends or his classmates' social media posts. This was genuine joy, the kind he used to show me back when we were just 2 kids from working-class families who'd found each other at Phoenix Community College 8 years ago. 8 years. It felt like a lifetime and no time at all. I'd been 19, taking night classes while working days as an apprentice electrician with Local 640. He'd been 21, pre-med with dreams of becoming a family doctor and plans to stay in Arizona, serve the community where he'd grown up. We'd met in the cafeteria during my dinner break, him studying anatomy while eating a sad sandwich, me scarfing down leftover pizza between shifts. "You look tired," he'd said, not as a pickup line but with genuine concern. 12-hour days, then classes, then homework, I'd replied. "But it's worth it. Union electrician pays better than anything else I'm qualified for, and once I make journeyman, I'll have real security." He'd looked impressed, not embarrassed. "That's amazing. I barely have energy for just school and my part-time job at the clinic." That version of Preston, the one who'd been proud of my ambitions, who'd bragged to his study group about dating the smartest, strongest woman at PCC, felt like someone I'd dreamed up. The man sitting across from me now, carefully helping our daughter navigate gift wrap, was a stranger wearing Preston's face. "Make a wish, baby girl." Preston held Kennedy up to the cake, one candle flickering in the afternoon light streaming through my living room windows. We'd argued about this tradition. I'd wanted to light it myself. He'd insisted on doing it until we'd finally compromised on lighting it together, our hands awkwardly closed as we held the lighter, careful not to touch. Everyone sang happy birthday with the enthusiasm adults reserved for children's parties. Kennedy clapped and shrieked with pure joy, the sound filling my small duplex with something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. The candle went out when Preston gently blew it for her, obviously, since Kennedy was only 11 months old and didn't understand the concept of wishes yet. For just a moment, watching our daughter's face light up with wonder, it felt like we were a family again. Like the past 18 months of lawyers and custody schedules and carefully neutral text messages had never happened. Like we were still Olivia and Preston, not Kennedy's parents or the divorced couple. Then the moment passed, reality settling back over us like Phoenix heat in July, unavoidable, suffocating, permanent. People started leaving around 4 p.m. Colton hugged me on his way out, his calloused electrician's hands steady on my shoulders. "You doing okay, Hermana?" he whispered, using the Spanish nickname he'd given me years ago when I'd first joined the crew. "Yeah," I lied smoothly. "I'm fine, just tired." He studied my face with the attention he brought to reading circuit diagrams. "You know where to find me if you need backup, right? Maria and I, we got your back, always have." That was the thing about union families. We took care of our own. When Preston's world had crumbled around me, when his medical school friends had chosen sides and his parents had made their position crystal clear, it had been the IBEW brotherhood that had caught me. Colton and his crew who'd made sure I got the best commercial jobs, who'd helped me move out of our old apartment, who'd babysat Kennedy during my first court hearing when I couldn't afford childcare. By 4:30, everyone was gone except Preston, who was methodically packing up Kennedy's gifts with the same precision he brought to everything these days. Our daughter had crashed on my couch, worn out from all the excitement, still clutching her stuffed elephant. "Thank you," Preston said quietly, not looking at me. "For hosting this, for the decorations, for making it special for her. You didn't have to go this far. She's my daughter." Of course I did. I watched him fold wrapping paper with medical student efficiency, everything neat and organized. "Besides, you would have done the same if the situation were reversed." He paused in his packing, finally meeting my eyes. "Would I have? I want to believe that, but honestly, Olivia, I don't know anymore. I don't know if the person I was 8 months ago would have cared more about appearances or about Kennedy's happiness." The admission hung between us, heavy with unspoken history. Preston sat down on the floor next to the couch where Kennedy slept, reaching out to touch her hair with the gentleness he'd once reserved for me. "Can I ask you something?" His voice was barely above a whisper, every muscle in my body tensed. These conversations never went anywhere good. "What? Do you ever think about the graduation party? About what would have happened if I had just—" He stopped, swallowed hard, started again. "If I had chosen differently that night?" There it was. The question that had been living in both our minds for 8 months, the what if that poisoned every interaction we'd had since. I stood there holding a trash bag full of party debris paper plates, plastic cups, the remnants of childhood joy, and wanted desperately to lie. To tell him no, I never thought about it, that I'd moved on completely, built a life that didn't include room for regret or second chances. But I was tired of lying, tired of pretending that seeing him didn't still make my chest tight with a mixture of love and fury that scared me with its intensity. "Every day," I admitted, the words coming out rougher than I'd intended. Every single day I think about what might have been different if you hadn't been ashamed to touch me in front of your parents. Preston's face crumpled like he'd been physically hit. Every day for me, too. Every morning when I wake up alone, every time I drop Kennedy off here and see the life you've built without me, every time someone asks about my family and I have to explain that I'm divorced because I was too much of a coward to defend my own wife. The word wife hit me like a live wire. He hadn't called me that since the divorce papers were signed. Please, before I continue, kindly like, share, and subscribe for more interesting stories. The conversation I'd been avoiding for 11 months started 3 days later because Kennedy wouldn't stop crying. It was Wednesday night, technically Preston's custody time, but he called me at 8 p.m., his voice edged with panic. She has a fever, 102.5. I gave her infant Tylenol 40 minutes ago, but she won't stop crying. I called the pediatric nurse line and they said to monitor it, but Olivia, she's burning up and I don't know if I should take her to urgent care or I'm coming over. I was already grabbing my keys, my work boots, and the emergency bag I kept packed for Kennedy situations. Text me the address. You don't have to. Preston, text me the address now. The extended stay America was a step down from the kind of places Preston was used to, all beige carpet and generic artwork that screamed temporary accommodation. He opened the door looking like he'd aged 5 years in the past few hours, hair disheveled, medical school t-shirt wrinkled, dark circles under his eyes that reminded me of his residency interview season. Kennedy was in his arms, wailing with the desperate sound that every parent learns to dread. Her face was flushed red, her little body radiating heat even through her pajamas. Let me see her. I took Kennedy, automatically checking her forehead, her neck, the way Nancy had taught me during those first terrifying months of new motherhood. When exactly did the fever start? Around 6:30. She was fine during dinner, happy, playing with her food the way she always does. Then suddenly she was crying, and when I took her temperature, his voice broke slightly. What if it's something serious? What if it's meningitis or some kind of infection? I'm supposed to know about this stuff, but when it's your own kid, it's probably just a virus, but we'll take her to urgent care to be safe. Grab the diaper bag and her insurance card. We sat in the urgent care waiting room for an hour and 15 minutes, Kennedy alternating between feverish sleep against my chest and brief periods of restless crying. The Tylenol had finally kicked in enough to bring her temperature down, but Preston's anxiety remained at peak levels, his knee bouncing with nervous energy that made the plastic chairs squeak. I'm a terrible father, he whispered suddenly, staring at the generic waiting room art. I'm 8 months away from my medical degree and I panicked completely. I didn't know what to do with my own daughter. Preston, stop. I shifted Kennedy to a more comfortable position. You're not a terrible father. You're a scared father, which is completely different. You knew exactly what to do, you monitored her temperature, you gave her appropriate medication, you called the nurse line for guidance, and then you called me for backup. That's what good parents do. He looked at me with surprise, like he'd expected me to agree with his self-criticism. You think I wasn't terrified the first time she got sick? That I didn't call Nancy crying at 2 a.m. because Kennedy had a diaper rash and I was convinced I was somehow failing her? I kept my voice low, conscious of other families in the waiting room dealing with their own medical fears. Being scared doesn't make you a bad parent. Being careless does, and you're never careless when it comes to Kennedy. Preston was quiet for a long moment, processing this information like he processed everything now, carefully, thoroughly, without the arrogant assumptions that had once defined him. I'm sorry, he said finally. For what? Kennedy having a fever isn't your fault. Not for that, for everything else, for the graduation party, for being ashamed of you, for turning into my parents. His voice cracked on the last words. For destroying the best thing that ever happened to me because I was too proud and too stupid to see what I actually had. I stared straight ahead at the waiting room television playing some medical drama, the irony of the situation not lost on me. Here we were, in another sterile medical environment, discussing the breakdown of our marriage while our daughter slept fitfully in my arms. Preston, we've been over this. The custody arrangement works well enough. We're managing as co-parents. We don't need to rehash, I'm still in love with you. And he said it quickly, like ripping off a bandage, then immediately looked like he wanted to take it back. I know I don't have the right to say that anymore. I know I destroyed everything, but I need you to know that every single day for the past 8 months, I've regretted what I did. Every morning I wake up, and the first thought in my head is how differently I would handle that night if I could do it again. Kennedy's name was called before I could respond, which was probably for the best. The pediatric urgent care doctor was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and efficient hands who confirmed what we'd both suspected, just a viral infection. Common in toddlers, antibiotics wouldn't help. Fluids and rest and time would cure it. Kennedy perked up almost immediately after the doctor's examination, suddenly interested in playing with the stethoscope and babbling at the medical equipment. We drove back to Preston's hotel in separate cars, following each other through the late evening Phoenix traffic. I carried Kennedy upstairs to his room, helped him set up the humidifier the doctor had recommended, watched our daughter fall asleep in the portable crib with her stuffed elephant tucked under one arm. Preston stood in the doorway watching me tuck her in, his expression unreadable in the dim light from the hallway. Thank you for coming tonight. You didn't have to, especially after everything, but you came anyway. She's my daughter too, Preston. Of course I came. I know, but... He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture I remembered from our college days when he was struggling with organic chemistry. You could have just told me to handle it myself. You could have said it was my custody time, my responsibility, my problem. A lot of divorced parents would have. I turned to face him fully. I'm not a lot of divorced parents. And despite everything that happened between us, I've never doubted that you love Kennedy. You made mistakes with me, but you're a good father. Am I? Because most days I feel like I'm just pretending to know what I'm doing, hoping she doesn't notice that I have no idea how to be the kind of parent she deserves. The vulnerability in his admission caught me off guard. This wasn't the Preston who had stood in his parents' living room 8 months ago and told me not to embarrass him in front of their country club friends. This was someone I barely recognized, humbler, more uncertain, almost fragile in a way that the old Preston never would have allowed himself to be. In the waiting room tonight, you said you heard me. What I said about still loving you. He kept his voice low, conscious of Kennedy sleeping nearby. I meant it, Olivia. I meant every word, and I understand if that's not enough anymore. I understand if the damage is too deep to repair. But I needed you to know that losing you was the biggest mistake of my life. What do you want me to say, Preston? That I forgive you? That we can pretend the last 8 months never happened? I want you to tell me if there's any part of you that's still... He stopped, started again. Do you still love me? At all? Even a little bit? The question hung in the air between us like a live wire, dangerous to touch, impossible to ignore. I could have lied, should have lied. It would have been easier for both of us. Yes, I admitted, the word feeling like surrender and relief in equal measure. I still love you. I've never stopped loving you. But Preston, love wasn't enough to save us the first time, and it won't be enough now. What would be enough? His voice was desperate now, his medical school composure completely abandoned. Tell me what I need to do. I'm already in therapy twice a week. I haven't spoken to my parents since the divorce was finalized. I've been trying to show you for months that I'm different now, that I've learned I don't trust you. The words came out harsher than I'd intended, but they were true. That's the problem, Preston. I love you, but I don't trust that you won't do it again. I don't trust that the next time your career is on the line, or your reputation matters, or your parents show up with their opinions, you won't choose them over me again. His face went pale. I wouldn't. I swear to you, I would never. You don't know that, and neither do I. I moved toward the door, needing distance from this conversation, from the hope I could see building in his eyes. I should go. Call me if her fever spikes again. Olivia, please, don't leave like this. We need to talk about what happens next, about whether there's any possibility. There's nothing to talk about. We're Kennedy's parents. That's all we can be now. I left before he could see my hands shaking, before he could see that walking away from him was still the hardest thing I'd ever done. 3 weeks later, Preston showed up at my job site in the middle of the afternoon. I was supervising the electrical installation for a new medical office complex. The irony wasn't lost on me when I saw his Honda Civic pull up to the construction trailer. He got out wearing scrubs, which meant he'd come directly from his hospital rotation, probably during what should have been a study break. Preston, What are you doing here? Is Kennedy okay? She's fine. She's with Nancy. I cleared it with her first. He looked nervous but determined, like he'd been practicing this conversation. I need to talk to you. Really talk. Not about custody schedules or medical emergencies or birthday parties. About us. I excused myself from the electrical crew. They'd seen enough of my personal drama over the past year to know when to make themselves scarce, and led him into the construction trailer I was using as a temporary office. It smelled like sawdust and coffee, nothing like the sterile hospital environments where he spent his days. "What's this about?" I asked, settling into the folding chair behind my makeshift desk, surrounded by electrical schematics and permit applications. Preston pulled out his phone, scrolling through his photos until he found what he was looking for. "Do you remember this?" It was a picture from our wedding, not one of the professional shots, but a candid photo Colton had taken on his phone. Preston and me in the courthouse parking lot afterward, both of us soaking wet from an unexpected spring rain, laughing like teenagers who'd just pulled off the world's greatest prank. I had my arms around his neck, he was spinning me around, and we were both grinning like we'd won the lottery. "I look at this picture every night before I go to sleep," Preston said quietly. "I've done it every night for the past 8 months, and I always ask myself the same question. When did I stop looking at you the way I'm looking at you in this photo? When did I start seeing you as something to hide instead of someone to celebrate?" "Preston? Please, let me finish." He took a deep breath, the kind he used to take before big exams. "I talked to my therapist about us, about what happened, about why I did what I did, and she said something that completely destroyed me. She said, 'You treated Olivia like a stepping stone instead of a partner. You used her to get where you wanted to go, and then you were embarrassed that people could see your footprints on her back.'" The image hit me like a physical blow, too accurate and too painful to dismiss. "She was right," Preston continued, his voice steady now, like he'd practiced this speech. "I used you. Maybe not consciously, maybe not maliciously, but I did. And the worst part? You let me. You loved me so completely that you let me walk all over you, and I mistook your strength for weakness, your support for submission. Why are you telling me this now? Because I'm done letting my past define my future. I'm done letting my parents' voices control my decisions. I'm done being the kind of person who was too ashamed to hold his wife's hand at his own graduation party." He leaned forward, his eyes intense with something I hadn't seen in years. "Olivia, I know I don't deserve another chance. I know I hurt you in ways that might never heal completely. But I need you to know that I see you now, really see you, and I'm sorry it took losing everything to learn how to look. I wanted to stay angry." Anger was safer than hope, cleaner than the complicated mess of love and hurt and longing that Preston's presence always stirred up in me. But sitting there in that construction trailer, looking at this man who had destroyed me and was now trying so desperately to rebuild what he'd broken, I felt something crack open in my chest. "I'm scared," I admitted. "I'm terrified that if I let you back in, you'll do it again. That we'll be at some medical conference or hospital fundraiser and your colleagues will make jokes about blue-collar wives and you'll test me." Preston's voice was fierce now, determined in a way I hadn't heard since our college days. "I know you tested me before, and I failed spectacularly. So test me again, publicly. Put me in the worst possible situation and watch what I do." "What are you talking about?" "Your union's annual awards banquet. It's next month, right? Take me as your date. Introduce me to your crew chiefs, your shop stewards, everyone who matters in your professional world. Let me prove that I'm proud to stand beside you, that I'm not ashamed anymore." I stared at him. "You're serious. Completely serious. And Olivia, if I fail, if I do anything at all that makes you feel less than the amazing woman you are, then you can walk away forever and I won't fight you on it. But if I pass, if I show you that I've truly changed, then we talk. Really talk about the possibility of trying again. One test isn't going to fix 8 months of damage, Preston. I know that, but it's a start." He showed me his phone calendar. "March 22nd, the IBEW Local 640 Awards dinner at the Phoenix Convention Center. I already checked, it's during my custody weekend, so Kennedy will be with me anyway. Bring her. Bring both of us. Let people see us as a family." Every instinct told me this was a mistake, that I was setting myself up for another public humiliation, another moment when Preston would choose his image over my dignity. But the hope in his eyes, desperate and terrified, and absolutely genuine, looked exactly like my own. "One test," I said finally. "But Preston, if you fail me again, I won't." He said it with such conviction that I almost believed him. "I promise you, Olivia, on everything I hold sacred, I will not fail you again." The Phoenix Convention Center was decorated for the IBEW Awards Banquet Union banners, red and blue streamers, photos of electrical workers from the past century mounted on easels around the perimeter of the ballroom. This was my world, the brotherhood that had caught me when Preston's world had spit me out. My company had grown enough in the past year that I was being honored with the Young Entrepreneur Award recognition for the commercial electrical business I'd built from nothing, proof that a woman could succeed in a male-dominated field through skill and determination rather than connections or family money. Preston arrived at 7 p.m. exactly, holding Kennedy on his hip. Our daughter was wearing a red dress that complemented the union colors, and Preston himself wore his best navy suit, the one he'd bought for medical school interviews, now repurposed for a very different kind of professional event. "Hi," he said, his voice smaller than usual. "Hi yourself." I took Kennedy, who immediately started playing with the union pin on my blazer. "You clean up nice, Dr. Wells?" "Not a doctor yet, still just a medical student." He looked around the ballroom filled with electricians, construction workers, and their families. "And tonight, I'm just Kennedy's dad and you're whatever you want to call me. Date," I said firmly. "Tonight, you're my date." Colton appeared with Paige, both of them dressed in their formal union best. Colton's expression when he saw Preston was carefully neutral, protective, but not hostile. "So," Colton said, extending his hand to Preston, "you're back." "I'm hoping to be," Preston replied, shaking Colton's hand with genuine respect. "If she'll have me, if I can prove I deserve another chance." "That's up to her," Colton said, but his tone had warmed slightly. "But for what it's worth, man, she's been miserable without you. Too proud to admit it, but miserable all the same." We made our way through the banquet, and I introduced Preston to everyone who mattered in my professional life. Shop stewards, crew chiefs, other contractors, the union representatives who'd helped me navigate starting my own business. Each time I watched his face carefully for that telltale flicker of embarrassment, that moment of shame I'd learned to recognize. It never came. "This is Preston," I'd say. "Kennedy's father. He's finishing medical school at Phoenix Medical Center." And Preston would smile and shake hands, but then he'd immediately turn the conversation back to me. "Olivia started her own electrical contracting business 2 years ago," he'd tell people. "She's got 4 commercial projects running simultaneously. Kennedy and I are so proud of her success." Every single time he did it, every time he built me up instead of minimizing me, I felt something fundamental shift inside my chest. The real test came when they called my name for the Young Entrepreneur Award. I'd been expecting the recognition, had prepared a brief acceptance speech, but what I hadn't expected was the way Preston reacted. He stood up immediately, still holding Kennedy, and started applauding. Not the polite, reserved clapping he might have done at one of his medical school functions, but genuine, enthusiastic celebration. "That's my girl," he called out, loud enough for the neighboring tables to hear. "That's my brilliant, amazing wife." The word wife hung in the air between us as I walked to the podium. Technically, I was his ex-wife, but the way he'd said it, with pride rather than shame, with joy rather than obligation, made it sound like a promise instead of a past tense. My acceptance speech was brief, thanking the union for their support, acknowledging the crew chiefs who'd given me opportunities, recognizing the other women in the trades who'd paved the way. But when I looked out at the audience, my eyes found Preston immediately. He was crying. Not the careful, controlled tears of someone managing their public image, but the messy, overwhelming tears of someone experiencing genuine emotion. Kennedy was patting his cheek with her small hand, babbling comfort words in her limited vocabulary. After the ceremony, after the congratulations and handshakes, after Kennedy had fallen asleep in her stroller, Preston and I found ourselves alone on the convention center balcony, looking out over the Phoenix skyline. "Thank you," I said quietly. "For what?" "For tonight. For being proud of me. For not being ashamed to be here." Preston was quiet for a long moment. I should have been doing that all along. From the very beginning, I should have been the person in the room most proud to be with you. "Why weren't you?" Because I was raised to believe that success meant climbing social ladders, that image was more important than integrity. My parents taught me that love was conditional, that people were only valuable if they helped you get somewhere better. He turned to face me fully. It took losing you to understand that I already had everything I needed. I just wasn't smart enough to see it. 6 months later, Preston's parents showed up unannounced at his apartment. I was there helping him study for his board exams. We'd been slowly rebuilding our relationship through therapy, through careful dates, through the patient work of learning to trust each other again. Kennedy was napping in Preston's bedroom when the knock came. Howard and Gloria Wells stood in the doorway, looking older, smaller somehow. Their Scottsdale tan had faded. Their designer clothes had been replaced with department store equivalents. The economic crash of their social circle, brought on partly by their own poor investments and partly by my very public exposure of their character, had humbled them in ways I'd never expected to witness. "Preston," Howard said stiffly, "we need to talk." "About what?" Preston's voice was cold, protective. He moved slightly in front of me, a gesture that would have been unthinkable 8 months earlier. "About our granddaughter. About trying to rebuild our family." "Your granddaughter," I said, stepping forward, "has been living 20 minutes away from you for over a year and a half. You've never even tried to meet her." Gloria's face crumpled. "We know. We've been wrong. About everything. About you. About what matters. About how we raised Preston." The apology was more than I'd ever expected to receive, but it was also too little, too late. "Here's what's going to happen," I said, my voice steady with the confidence I'd learned from years of managing electrical crews. "You can meet Kennedy, once, if Preston agrees. But you don't get to be grandparents just because you finally realized your mistakes. You don't get to waltz back into our lives now that we've figured out how to be happy without you." Preston took my hand the first time he'd done so in front of his parents since our wedding day. "What Olivia said," he told them. "She speaks for both of us now." 1 year later, we stood in the same courthouse where we'd first gotten married, in front of the same judge who'd performed our original ceremony. "Ms. Rivers, Mr. Wells," Judge Martinez said with a knowing smile. "I have to say, this is a first for me. Usually when I see couples again, it's for divorce proceedings, not remarriages." "We did the work," I said, squeezing Preston's hand. 18 months of therapy, individual and couples. We know what we're doing this time. "And you're both certain about this?" I looked at Preston, at the man who'd learned to be proud of me, who'd chosen me over his parents' approval, who'd spent the past year proving every single day that people can change if they want it badly enough. "I'm sure," I said. When we kissed this time, it felt different than our first wedding. Not like the beginning of a fairy tale, but like the hard-won victory it actually was. Kennedy clapped from Colton's arms, and our small group of Witnesses Union family, not blood family, cheered. Sometimes the best love stories aren't about finding your person. They're about fighting to become worthy of the person you've already found. Sometimes the strongest foundations are built on the ruins of what came before, reinforced by the knowledge of exactly how much it costs to tear them down.